Hello, and thanks for listening to One More Thing. I am your host, Tyeri Apia, and today we have a very special guest on our show, Mr. Jeff Childers, here to discuss everything COVID and about his lawsuit with Diyonne Mcgraw, former school board member. Hey, Mr. Childers, how are you today?
Hey, Ty. I'm well. How are you?
Fantastic, sir. It's good to hear from you. It's been quite a while since we talked last time.
Yeah, good to hear from you too.
So you gotta fill me in. We heard about this lawsuit with Diyonne Mcgraw. Where are we at with that lawsuit? How do we begin with that lawsuit? Let's start at the beginning.
Well, somebody anonymously filed a complaint with the Board of Elections and alleged that Ms. Mcgraw was living in the wrong district. So some local folks who were involved in Conlin Banco's competitive campaign against Ms. McGraw got a hold of that, and they contacted me to find out if anything could be done.
Okay, perfect. And so we found out an anonymous report came in that Diyonne Mcgraw is representing District 2 but living in District 4. And
That's right.
okay. And then how many plaintiffs did you have on the lawsuit?
We had 4 plaintiffs.
4 plaintiffs. And where are we at now with that lawsuit?
So the lawsuit contained 3 counts originally. The counts were to find that Ms. McGraw was her seat, or the District 2 seat, was vacant. The second count was to invalidate her votes that were taken at any time she didn't live in the correct district, and then the third count was for an injunction. And so we moved immediately for an emergency injunction on that third count, and the court held a hearing and found the court denied the emergency injunction but made some findings that were what we needed in order to get the governor involved to declare the seat was vacant at the state level.
Okay. And you said the governor declared it vacant?
The governor entered an executive order declaring that the District 2 seat in Alachua County is vacant.
Roger that. So then at that point, after the governor declares the seat vacant, when would an appointment be?
Well, that's an excellent question. The governor has a nominating committee, and any vacancies like this get referred to the nominating committee. And my understanding is that they review different applications that are already in the system, plus any new ones that come in, probably discuss it, do research, and make a recommendation to the governor. And then he makes an appointment. And what we've heard is that in some counties, the process has taken up to 6 months. We hope, obviously, that it doesn't take 6 months in this case.
Well, why not? Why wouldn't it take 6 months?
Well, we hope that they'll move faster than that.
Oh, okay. Okay, got you. Roger that. Okay. Well, I hope so, because there's no statute or anything that says how long the governor can take on appointment, right? I'm assuming not.
That's right. The statute is very short. It simply says that the governor shall appoint a replacement, period.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay. Well, definitely, because I know right now, from what I've seen on the school board, it seems they're kind of, they're kind of locked in 2 and 2 with opposing ideas, at least from the last school board meeting I saw.
That's the way that it looks to me, and probably everybody else looking at it. They were previously split 3 and 2 on, any controversial vote, and that's why this was such a huge media case, because everybody understood that the removal of Ms. McGraw would make a big difference politically on the school board.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that it actually. I'm glad that everything worked out ultimately, and she did. Or we are dealing with a vacancy, because it definitely seemed completely, from every bit of evidence that I've seen, seems completely unlawful that she's holding that seat, and she doesn't have any rights to it. She did it completely wrong.
Well, the rules are the rules, and I think
Exactly.
most people understand that. There's activists on both sides, of course, who really don't care about the finer points like rules, but most normal people, I think, understand that if the law says that in order to occupy the District 2 seat, you have to live in District 2, and you don't live in District 2, then that's a problem, So it was, from that point of view, very uncontroversial, and that's what the judge found in the order. As I understand it, Ms. McGraw's defense currently is nothing more than she should have been allowed whatever time it would have normally taken for a court case to play out, which obviously we disagree with.
Yes, yeah, I heard that as well. But we already know to my knowledge, you could correct me. You could correct me here, but to my knowledge, she even admitted that she's not in the correct district. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's never argued that she lived in District 2.
Okay, so yeah, it's nonsense. I think it's really because, and this again my opinion here, but I think she wants to be able to pass more votes. She wants to be able to pass more votes, and is banking on the fact that maybe that lawsuit won't go through for those votes to be null and void.
Yeah, I think that's right. And last week we got some intel after she filed a petition against the governor to try to get this thing turned around. We got some intel from insiders that she planned to attend the school board and that they were going to let her vote on the theory that she had a pending petition against the governor. And so we immediately amended our lawsuit and added the school board as a defendant. A lot of people don't know that. It wasn't in the media, but we're now suing the school board as well. And we added counts for injunctions against the school board and to invalidate all the votes that the school board takes while they allowed Ms. McGraw to vote in a vacant seat. And by the end of the day, the school board had changed her profile on the website to vacant, and she did not attend and vote. So, our belief is that it was our lawsuit that caused the change. We don't know that for sure, but that's what we suspect.
Wow, that's great. You seem like you're making just extremely great great headway on everything that you're doing here, and I'm sure Gainesville and people that respect the law and the Republic definitely appreciate you. I found it I guess funny or ironic that Miss McGraw, who didn't follow the law, then tried to use the law in a way where she can be back on the board in her seat. I found that a little comical.
Yeah, and Ty, it's frustrating because even in her petition against the governor, she's still not alleging that she meets the qualifications to hold that office. She's only complaining that she should have been given more time to vote before the end. And, I question whether that's good faith litigation at all.
Yes, definitely. And we have our children that look up to these school board members, and to see that they're not following the law, or just have no respect for it. It's just mind blowing. It's nothing I've ever seen before. Not from the school board. So I guess maybe just being here in Gainesville, I'm seeing these things, but it's nothing I've ever seen. It makes me feel a bit ashamed in a sense.
I think it does sort of reflect badly on all of us, because ultimately the onus is on the citizens of Alachua County to elect high quality people to these offices who are going to do the right thing if something like this happens.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm 100% with you on that. So moving on, is there any more to that lawsuit that we don't know? Because that, you just surprised me with that with that amendment there.
Yeah, well, with the declaration by the school board, or I guess their concession that the seat is vacant, then there's not a lot more that we have to do except for challenging some of Miss McGraw's previous votes.
Okay.
And so my understanding is that my clients are looking at her voting record and looking to see where there were 3-2 votes, where her vote was the swing vote. And then trying to figure out of that group, which are the ones that it might be justified to go back into court and incur the time and the expense of fighting that. And I'm not completely convinced that it'll be possible to undo those. I think it's going to be difficult. But there were some very significant votes that were taken with her vote as a swing vote, and I think my clients are going to want to take a run at that.
Yes, definitely. And if that should happen, right, it's not necessarily preventing this vote from ever occurring. The next person who would be appointed by the governor would then be able to make those votes. Is that how you foresee it? Is that how it would kind of work?
You mean if we were able to get the court to agree with us to overturn those previous votes?
Yeah, overturn those previous votes. And then if the Governor DeSantis, appointed a new person, then would that new person go back over those previous policies, whatever Ms. McGraw was the swing vote on? He or she would go over those previous policies and then re-vote on them? Is that how it would work?
Potentially, the school board would have to put those votes back on the agenda again.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Is there anything more to that lawsuit, or is that?
The next action, I guess, is going to be with Miss McGraw's petition against the governor, and that's a fight between her and the governor. So we're not involved in that one, and we're sort of going to be watching from the sidelines. Although we have filed a notice of appearance in that case. And so we potentially could participate if we see an opportunity to do so.
Okay, roger that. All right. And now I just want to go over so you've been doing some blog posts on COVID. I see them often on Facebook, and I kind of wanted to definitely touch on them. It seems like you're almost an expert on looking at every bit of information on COVID. I was thinking when I was looking at your post, I'm thinking, how does this guy come out with a post every day on COVID? I mean, every day about information that a lot of people don't even know, and I love reading them. So could you tell me a bit about how you got so intrigued by following all the COVID news and how you even got all these dots connected? I'm looking at red state. I'm seeing a possible defector. Can you tell me about that?
So the sordid story of my Facebook blog, and let me say, prior to that, I was not a Facebook guy. I think, when I first got my account back in, 2008 or something, I might have uploaded a few pictures, and then that was it. But last March, when the original lockdowns occurred in Alachua County, and we were just starting to see the first wave of kind of the COVID hysteria hitting, I was home in the afternoon early, and I was watching a county commission meeting, and one of the commissioners said that they thought they had done the math, and cases in Alachua County were doubling every 2 days.
Wow.
And that was pretty alarming. And I was kind of, startled and very concerned about that. So I decided, because I'm a lawyer and I never believe things that people say without checking.
Yeah.
I thought, well, let me look at the numbers and see if that's true. And so I looked at the numbers, and it didn't look like cases were doubling every 2 days at all to me. So I had done all this work, and I had sort of made a little spreadsheet for myself, and I thought, well, now that I've done all this work, maybe it would be helpful to others. And so I thought, well, where can I put it? And I thought, all right, I'll just throw it up on my Facebook page. And I might have had, I don't know, a few hundred friends on Facebook at that time. And what happened is it immediately got a huge response.
Wow.
And so starting on March 23rd of last year, every day I would go in and I would look at the numbers, and I would make my spreadsheet, and I would counter a lot of the fear narrative that was going on with, the actual figures that I found, and people were eating it up. And, I'll tell you, I was getting, and this is even back, in early summer of 2020, I was getting messages from people like in New York City. And the messages would say things like, "Dear Jeff, somebody sent me a copy of your blog post, and I just wanted to thank you and tell you how much it means to me. I was near suicide.
Wow.
And I hadn't seen any good news in so long, and that was the first good news that I've seen in months." And I still get chills thinking about it, and I've probably gotten dozens of those kinds of emails.
Wow.
And so now I think we've got probably close to 10,000 readers.
Wow. You started
Every
so
day.
you started with 100?
Whatever my friends are.
Oh, wow.
A few hundred friends on Facebook,
Mhm.
and that weren't used to me posting anything, to now, and I don't know, it's funny, and you asked me about doing it every day. It takes me 2 hours to put the post together every day. I get up super early,
Mhm.
and I don't know how I've been able to keep it up for a year and a half now, but the feedback that I get is just, you can't imagine the things that people tell me about how meaningful that information is to them. And as you said, we've sort of gotten away from the numbers now, because even the state of Florida is not tracking COVID on a daily basis anymore,
Mhm.
which is great, and it's about time. But I do a roundup of the COVID news and related news from around the country and around the world. And what I'm usually looking for is the good news, the optimistic take on things, which Ty has never been wrong, right?
Yeah.
Last summer when I was doing this, I had all kinds of debunkers coming on my Facebook page. I had doctors and epidemiologists and virologists, and they would come on my page and try to, correct my misinformation. And, almost ubiquitously it was just doomsaying, and, things are going to get terrible, and there's, mass graves behind the hospitals, and, all this kind of nonsense. And that was not what I was seeing when I was running it down as an attorney to get to the source data. So I wish I didn't have to do it. I wish the media was doing this.
It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? Because it's like you're saying it's only taking you 2 hours, and the media is not even doing it. And then it leads you to come to the obvious conclusion that they have to know this, right?
Well, they do know it, because I find it in the most kind of places that you would least expect to find it. Like, I'll read a New York Times panic porn story, but I'll find down in paragraph 22 the actual data that they're relying on. And then when you look at that data, it contradicts the whole narrative of the story. Oh. And once I find that data, I can go find the original study that they used, and the study says something completely different, and then I report on the study instead of reporting about what the New York Times said, unless I'm making fun of it.
Yes, I know exactly what you. I've done the same thing for a different reason, and they have those little sublinks, is right, that you click on, and then you go into, and you're like, this is not even what the article says, but the headlines are total propaganda most of the time. It's like the headlines are the thing that's completely misleading, and then when you actually investigate, it's completely different.
Right, and so I would report on the truth, and then a lot of times, because I have kind of a sarcastic sense of humor, I'll mock the headline or the story, or I call reporters lazy, because they they'll call up. So the whole story will be something an expert said, right? It'll say, experts say that a huge spike in COVID is going to come after the Memorial Day holiday. And so I'll look into it. And, their expert is some assistant professor at a community college in Tennessee somewhere. And so it's obvious that the reporter just called around until they found somebody to say what they wanted to report on. Right? An assistant professor at a community college in Tennessee is not an expert.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
So anyway, so there's all kinds of tricks that the reporters use, and I love to expose those tricks, and we have a good time on the blog with it.
So can you tell me something, I guess, something big about COVID? I want you to talk a little bit about the red state defector. That's what I really want to hear about that. I'm sure the viewers would want to hear about that. Or listeners.
There was a story that broke a couple weeks ago that the Military Defense Intelligence Agency, which is one of the four big U.S. intelligence agencies, it's as big as the CIA or the FBI. The President's Daily Intelligence Briefing, 25% of that is written by the Defense Intelligence Agency. And there were two journalists who were not related to each other, one of them with RedState.com, Jennifer Van Laar, and they're both very credible, reliable, investigative journalists, and they both broke a story that an anonymous source had told them that a high-level Chinese defector was giving information to the Defense Intelligence Agency and had been for months, and it was so secret that none of the other intelligence agencies even knew about it, and the president didn't even know. And then they broke some more information about the alleged defector, including that the alleged defector had said that the reason that he didn't want anybody to know he was cooperating is because our other intelligence services are infiltrated by Chinese agents. And so we then, people started to connect the dots as to who the defector might be. And the consensus is that he is the head of China's counterintelligence services. And if that's true, it would be the highest level defector in history. And somebody who had access to all of China's military secrets, including their bioweapons research. And according to Red State and Van Laar, the defector was providing information like early sequences of COVID-19 and instructions on how COVID-19 was artificially created in the lab. And the Defense Intelligence Agency allegedly hired independent universities and labs in the U.S. to follow the script, and confirmed that the scientific information that the defector was giving them was accurate. So it's been over a week since we've had any information on this, and now that it's public, you would expect, every intelligence service in the world is mobilized on this if it's true. And if it's true, the Chinese are doing everything they can to shut it down.
Wow.
So we'll see. I mean, it's a huge spy versus spy deal, and it's a rare glimpse into, stuff that happens behind the scenes that we would otherwise never find out about.
And is this public just so far as Red State? Like, what do you mean by public? Like, how many people know this information? Or how many medias have actually even, because I'm sure CNN didn't report on it.
No. The old media has not really picked up the story much. However, there are credible journalists who have written extensively on it on some of the new satellite media like Substack and Medium, where you're finding a lot of really important scholarship happening that can't make it into the mainstream media. So we have a lot. We do have a lot of corroborating information about this story.
That's this, just even thinking about this being true is just completely detrimental to our society. And I mean, there has to be some ramification for this.
Yeah, I mean so the way it's shaping up is, although all of this is still obviously highly speculative, but the evidence seems to be stacking up to suggest that the leak of COVID-19 from the Wuhan lab was accidental, but that after it happened, China intentionally caused it to spread around the world. And evidence for that one's, people are going to be like, what? But China shut down domestic travel to Wuhan, but allowed international travel to continue. And they hosted a huge sport. Their military hosted a Olympic-style athletic event in Wuhan in late 2019, and a lot of those athletes came down with similar symptoms. And guess what? Those symptoms are also similar to
COVID-19.
That's right. And it was highly infectious. The athletes reported, even at the time, they were texting and tweeting their friends about how Wuhan appeared to be locked down. This is in like October of 2019, and that they didn't get to see any of the native residents of Wuhan, because they all seemed to be staying away from the athletes and staying inside. So if that's true, Ty, if it doesn't matter whether China released it intentionally, if they spread it intentionally, that's just as bad.
Yeah.
And that would constitute an attack using a weapon of mass destruction.
And it's just even hard to it's hard for me to fathom that we have Chinese spies in high sectors of our government. I just can't even fathom that. To hear from this defector that he went to the DIA instead of the CIA, the FBI, the NSA. That doesn't sit right with me at all. And if this is true, why not hearing any of the big media outlets speaking on it, just it almost, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but it almost seems like it's coordinated in a sense. It just from speculating on it, just almost seems as if it's coordinated. Why are they not reporting? This is a great story.
Right.
They report on lesser stories every day.
Yeah, and I mean, it's got all the elements that they usually like, right? It could alarm people. It's very alarming news.
Yeah.
It's controversial, but you're right. There's a media blackout on it, and I think it's fair to wonder why. I mean, the conspiracy theorizing starts when you claim you know the answer, and we don't know the answer for sure, but something is going on. Exactly. That much is obvious.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, something we can't say for sure, but it doesn't smell right. That I think many of us can agree on.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say. It does not smell right.
And also, now you correct me again if I'm wrong. Now, have you said that you have seen evidence that the COVID-19 virus has went from looking more from an artificial virus to actually looking like a normal virus now?
No.
Is that what it was? Okay.
I think that the weight of the evidence, and speaking just as an attorney, and obviously relying on various media sources to report this stuff, but ever since the lab leak hypothesis became okay to talk about again, scientists have been coming out of the woodwork, and they're identifying elements in the COVID-19 DNA that appear to be artificial. In particular, there's one technique that is commonly used to modify viruses that that leaves a double genome, two genomes one right after another in the genomic sequence that never occurs in nature.
Wow.
And that occurs in the COVID-19 genome. There's also some other, a lot of shady stuff going on. The National Institute of Health deleted, at the request of Chinese scientists, the earliest genomes available for COVID-19 that had been in the NIH's database, and they scrubbed it. They didn't even keep a copy. Those are important because, those would be the ones that would show the most evidence of the initial condition of the virus, and including whatever artificial elements you might be able to find in it. Now there's so many variants out there, and it's mutated so much that it's hard to draw conclusions. So you want to look at what that very first sequence looks like. But the NIH deleted it at the request of undisclosed Chinese researchers. And in fact, just today, some Republicans from the Senate demanded that the NIH disclose the identity of those researchers who requested those genomes be deleted, and also disclose the identities of the NIH employees who did the deleting.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know any of that yet.
What was the response? Was this like through letter, or was this on the spot, like live, or?
What I saw, the report was that a letter was delivered to the NIH today.
Oh, a letter, okay. Yeah, because that would be great. If they're going to delete the information, we want to at least know, the people have a right to know what their names were or anything. And I'm almost alarmed at the possible response, because I think it was, what was it, 2 weeks ago, when Matt Gaetz was interviewing somebody from, I believe it was the FBI on the debriefer, and trying to find out where he was, or any information related to him. And it was just a lot of going around the bush. Oh, we can't talk about that. Can't talk about that. Can't. And I'm afraid that we're gonna kind of get the same kind of answer, and that just does not look good at all.
No, it's it doesn't. The government doesn't seem to be working the way it's supposed to these days.
Yes, we can definitely agree on that one. So what is one more? Now, this is a lot to leave the viewers with. I think we can get to a close here. What is one more thing? Because we love to leave our viewers with one more thing that they can do from an activist standpoint to help you, Gainesville, in any way. What can we do to help you, Mr. Childers, on your Gainesville activism, if anything?
Sure. Well, I would say I'll give you three things for folks to think about, and they all fall under the umbrella of get involved. And I will confess, I'm not holding myself out as the wonderful example in this category. Before a year ago, I was never involved in local politics, and the federal stuff that's happening, most of us down here in Alachua County, we can't control that. There's nothing we can do about what's happening in Washington, D.C. We have to trust the white hats at the DIA and the Republicans in Congress and the Senate. But if you look at an electoral map of the United States, and we all have, and if you look at the county-by-county vote results, what do you notice about the proportion of red counties to blue counties?
In Florida?
In the whole U.S. If you look at that map of the U.S. on a county-by-county level, if counties that went Republican are painted red and counties that went Democrat are blue, what you see is a huge blue United States, a huge red United States with blue around the edges. That's what you see. So on a county-by-county level, we have the ability to take the country back. And what's happened is that the George Soroses and folks like George Soros have realized this, and they have been working at the county level for several years now. And so what we find is that a lot of our county government has been changed from a different color, not the color of the county, but to blue, even though it's in a red county. Now, in Alachua County, we have a blue county, but there are a lot of good conservatives here. So if we could get all of the good conservatives in Alachua County involved, we could make a huge difference. So here are 3 ideas. One is just donate money. If you can't do anything else, if you don't have time, interest, or bandwidth, then at least help financially. And, there are candidates who are going to be running. This is critically important. We talked about the school board before. We're going to have 4 open seats on that school board.
Yeah.
The worst thing in the world would be for those 4 seats to go to more George Soros-funded activists. So if people want to help with the legal stuff, they can call my office, and we're set up to accept donations. We're not asking for them, but of course they're welcome. This is expensive, and I never tooled up to do this, so folks are welcome to do that, or any other. But I would say keep it local. We really need to reclaim the county. The second would be to recruit a friend, and if you want to get started on something, take your friend to a county commission meeting or a school board, and attend as many of them as you can. It's painful to watch, and they're time consuming. But having people there who can hear what's going on and can stand up and say something at the right time, that can make a real difference. Yeah. I don't know if you're aware of this story, but some residents in High Springs found out yesterday that the county commission was going to be voting on building a waste transfer station for hazardous waste right in the middle of High Springs.
Yes, I was just interviewing Miss Catherine White's about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they got organized, and they got down to that county commission meeting, and they got the commissioners to vote against it in one day.
Wow.
So you can make a difference. Don't work by yourself. And so that's the third suggestion I'm going to make, is find a group to get involved with. And if people just really have no idea where to start, I'm going to refer folks to the local Moms for Liberty chapter, and they can find the Facebook group for Moms for Liberty. It's for dads too, but they're doing great work, and in particular, some of the local activists were complaining about Moms for Liberty being involved in that the removal of Miss Mcgraw. Now, I'm not aware that they were, but the fact that the activists are afraid of Moms for Liberty tells you a lot.
Yes. No, that's fantastic. I'm actually going to donate money right now. This is my one more thing to your law firm, because I just appreciate how much you've done in these articles every day. You're working extremely hard, and I want to definitely show my appreciation, Mr. Childers. Thank you for coming on the show on One More Thing, and we appreciated having you.
It's great to be here, Ty. I love talking to you.
All right. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.